Coming to you from the TCT studios in the heartland of America. Truth shouldn't be complicated, but these days it often is, where faith, culture, and real issues shaping our world converge. Today, we cut through the noise. Welcome to Frankly Speaking.
Welcome. I am Frank Amedia, and I can only be frank. Recently, my wife, Laura Lee, and I had the privilege of joining a small gathering in Washington, D.C. with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife, Sarah. We were invited by our friend, Dr. Mike Evans, to participate in this intimate forum with a small faith group that were selected leaders. The meeting was held at Blair House, and that's the historic presidential guest residence where visiting heads of state are welcomed during official visits to the White House. I was honored to be seated directly across from Prime Minister Netanyahu and Mrs. Netanyahu, and several of us had the opportunity to personally converse with the Prime Minister, known affectionately by many simply as Bibi. As expected, the discussions included the alarming rise of anti-Semitism around the world and the ongoing threats facing Israel, particularly from Iran and its proxy terrorist organizations. It was a remarkable setting because just while we cleared security and assembled into that small meeting room, Prime Minister Netanyahu was simultaneously conducting meetings just across the hall with senior United States officials, including Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. While others addressed political and military matters, I chose to share something very different. I told the Prime Minister that through Frankly Speaking and the TCT Network, we are focusing on producing programs that pull the curtains back to tell the human story behind the headlines. Similar to what has been most recently broadcast with the multi-part series on Ambassador Yechiel Leitart, then the tragic terrorist murder of Yaron and Sarah, and then the heart of Yaron's father, Daniel Lashinsky, we seek to help viewers understand not merely the conflict, but the people living through it, the mothers and the fathers, the children, the grandparents, the Jewish families, the Arab families, and the ordinary citizens whose lives are forever interrupted and shaped by war. I shared that we intend to continue producing documentary-style programs that allow audiences to meet real people with real names, real homes, real hopes, and real heartbreaks. Politics often divides people. Human stories connect them. I also mentioned something that has deeply affected Laura Lee and I. An entire generation of Israelis has grown up knowing that wherever they are, at home, in school, on a playground, or at work, or even attending a sporting event, they must always know where their nearest bomb shelter is. They have been taught that when those sirens sound, they may have only 10 or 15 seconds to take cover. Think about that for a moment. Many of these children have now become young adults serving in the Israeli Defense Forces. They return home from military service only to watch their own younger brothers and sisters, or even now their own children, run towards those same bomb shelters when the alarms begin again. It is difficult for many of us to imagine living every day under that kind of reality. Yet, even in those moments of fear, faith has not been silenced. Take a look at these remarkable scenes of young Israelis worshiping God together inside a bomb shelter as rockets fall overhead.
Let's sing. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? Oh, we'll see how great is our God. How great Say, how great is our God.
Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we sing how great, how great is our God.
Come on, let's sing. How great? How great is our God. Sing with me.
Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will sing how great is our God.
Come on. For he is the name above all names. Say, for he is the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise. And our hearts will sing how great.
Well, that brings to mind the biblical accounts of Paul worshiping in prison. These young Israelis and their worship leader created an atmosphere of peace in the most unlikely conditions. It was immediately following that memorable meeting in Washington that I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Mike Evans. Now, Dr. Evans is one of the world's most recognized Christian advocates for Israel. He's authored more than 120 books, was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for his lifetime efforts combating anti-Semitism. He founded the Friends of Zion Museum in Jerusalem. He helped establish the Corrie ten Boom House in the Netherlands as a place of remembrance and education. And he founded Churches United with Israel, one of the largest Christian Zionist church networks in America. Here at Frankly Speaking and the TC Network, we are also honored to be collaborating with Dr. Evans in producing what is expected to become the largest global prayer and solidarity event for Israel on October 7th in Jerusalem, with participation anticipated from more than 5 million people around the world. We will discuss this in more detail in tomorrow's program. But beyond these lifetime accomplishments is a remarkable personal story. Mike Evans was born to a Jewish mother and endured a childhood marked by severe abuse from an alcoholic father who professed Christianity but tragically did not live the principles. At just 11 years old, Mike intervened as his father, in a drunken rage, violently attacked his mother, and he nearly lost his own life in the process. Yet, out of unimaginable pain came an extraordinary encounter with God that transformed a wounded child into a man who has spent his life serving the call of his Lord and Savior, standing against hatred, defending the Jewish people, and calling Christians to become bridge builders rather than bystanders. His life reminds us that God has a remarkable way of taking the deepest wounds and transforming them into the greatest calling. Here's part one of my conversation with Dr. Mike Evans, recorded at Blair House in Washington, D.C. We'll be on it right after this message.
Today, families in Venezuela are facing urgent and widespread devastation. Recent earthquakes have torn through communities, destroying homes and leaving thousands without access to basic necessities. Entire neighborhoods are now in crisis. In response, Convoy of Hope is on the ground right now, delivering food, drinking water, and hygiene kits to families who have lost everything. But the need is growing. That's why the TCT Network is partnering with Convoy of Hope to bring immediate relief and lasting hope to Venezuela. And you can be part of it today. Your love gift at TCT helps rush supplies into devastated communities and provide life-saving essentials to children and families in crisis. No gift is too small. Every dollar makes a real difference. Join us today. Give your love gift to TCT, and together we can bring hope into the heart of Venezuela right now.
After I've given you some background on Mike Evans, and he has different titles and different names, but we've agreed we're going to go by our first names, I am so honored to welcome you.
So good to be with you, Frank.
Well, thank you, sir. And we just had an exciting time together with something that you organized here in the Blair house. And I'm looking around at the furnishings here. It's incredible. And God has given you such favor to be able to not only have this kind of an audience with the Prime Minister during a war right now and his wife,
Yes,
but also to collect some really good people together. Thank you for that. And how do you do this, Mike? Over and over and over you do it.
you know, the Secretary of War just left the meeting with the Secretary of War to come to our meeting. So you're right. You said the word favor. God spoke to me many years ago and he said to me, worthship me. I said, you mean worship? No, worthship.
Ooh.
Worthship. I said, how do I do that? He said, with my DNA. I said, what's your DNA? He said, radical obedience, radical humility, radical generosity, and radical forgiveness. I want you to manifest those in your life as an act of worthship. Then he said, if you'll do it, you'll activate my promises. Every scripture has an assignment, he says, and you'll activate the promises to the assignment if you'll worship me.
Wow. Now, you've just heard that. And I'm going to follow up with that after this interview with another whole program. And I'm going to be challenging those of you who are looking, how do I walk into a calling and what do I do? You just heard it. And this is a testimony where it's working. Mike, I want to talk about your family a little bit. I'd like our audience, which goes coast to coast, to get to know a little bit more about Mike Evans, where he came from. How did it happen?
Okay, I'll start at the end rather than the beginning. My father died, and he wanted me to preach his funeral, and I had 6 brothers and sisters. None of them would come to the funeral except me. I cared for my father. He lived to be 91, and I preached his funeral, and I honored him. And when I came home, I was going through the garage, and the Spirit of God spoke to me and said, great job, son. I got divine affirmation because I manifested radical forgiveness, radical generosity. By the way, he left me everything in his will, and the Lord said, don't take a dime, divide it to your 6 brothers and sisters and only take the bills.
Wow.
So my wife,
Only take the bills.
just take the bills.
What kind of a Jew is that? Okay.
Yes, yes. Saved one.
Okay.
So
right.
I turned to my wife. I said, don't take me in the house. She said, where? Take me to New York. I'm meeting with the president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Why? She said, because God just gave me a scripture that came alive. Behold, I open a door that no man can close. I flew to New York. I did not have a meeting with him. I wrote a book against him. I did Fox shows against him. I wrote articles against him. I didn't know where he was staying. I found out it was at the Warwick Hotel, the Tudor Hotel with the Iranians. I went to the hotel. They said, you don't have a room here. The Secret Service. I said, I do. Take me up to the front desk. Come and get my key. How did I know I had a room? Because God gave me a scripture. I've opened a door that no man can close, and every room has a door. So I said to the front desk, give me my key. They said, the Iranians have the whole hotel. No, you have a room for me. Bring your manager. She hands me the key. I go in the lobby, I start talking to Iranian diplomats, and they started saying to me, Allah Shalif, which means in Persian, the mercy of God. On the 3rd day, a man's rushing through the lobby. I tapped his shoulder, I said, thank you. He said, for what? For setting up a meeting for me tomorrow with the president of Iran. I didn't know who the man was. He was the foreign minister of Iran, Zadi. His aide came back 30 minutes later, said, your meeting's tomorrow at the Warwick Hotel at 10 o'clock. I brought the Fox News Network, and I had a 1-hour meeting. Well, it happened because of the favor of God by honoring my father. A father who strangled me and left me for dead at 11. A father who almost killed me at 8. Father who started abusing me at 4, and I ran away from home at 4 for the first time. Who did not believe I was son. Believe I was the son of a Jewish man, and my mother was Jewish. So he would beat my mother up on Saturday mornings. By the way, he went to church every Sunday.
Oh, my.
He had a Thompson chain Bible. They called him Brother Bob. But every Friday night he went to the Twilight Cafe, and there's only two kinds of drunks. There's a drunk that's loving, that'll kiss a dog in a tree, and a mean as a devil drunk.
Yes.
He was a mean as the devil drunk. He'd come home around 2 to 2:30, sit my mother in a chair, and call her a Jewish whore and slap her in the face. She wore sunglasses a lot because of black eyes. He'd say, "That's not my son upstairs. He's not my son. You're a whore. You're a Jewish whore." Slam. I used to cry. I was so ashamed. On a Tuesday in school, Frank, they asked the children, "What do you want to be grow up?" I showed up late. My only goal was to be 20. I was sure he would kill me before 20. I screamed, "Stop it." He ran up the stairs and picked me up on my neck, way above his head. By the way, in the morning, every finger of his hand was on my neck. He squeezed the blood through in his fingers. I went unconscious. I went in a fetal position. I vomited all over myself. I woke up gagging on my vomit. And when I woke up, I was angry. I was angry that I was alive.
Ooh.
He hates me. He never called me son. He's never affirmed me. He's only abused me. And she gets beat up every Saturday morning because of me. I should have never been born. So I made a fist at God and I screamed, "Why was I born?" in anger. And he responded to my anger and my rage. A bright light came in the room. I thought it was my father with the spotlight, so I threw my hands up to protect my face. But I peeked through my fingers, and when I peeked, I saw two hands coming at me.
Oh, my.
There were nail scars. They were not here. They were way up high here, way up high here. I've never seen that before, but I saw it. Their hands are coming at me. I'll be honest with you, when I saw the hands coming at me, I thought to myself, I'm crazy. I've gone crazy. I don't believe in Jesus. The only person I ever heard of nail scars is Jesus. And they weren't here. They were here, supposed to be here, not way up high here. Then I looked up and I saw the most beautiful eyes I've ever saw in my life. Every color in the rainbow was in the eyes. They were smiling eyes. And they were like magnets. When you saw the eyes, you couldn't take your eyes off them. And you could see eternity through the eyes. You could see angels through the eyes. And I'm looking at, and by the way, the first time I ever saw a man's eyes smile were the eyes of Jesus.
Wow.
He looked at me with those smiling eyes and he spoke. He said a word I never heard, "Son."
Wow.
Then he said another word I never heard, "I love you." Then he said the third thing I never heard, "I have a great plan for your life."
Wow.
Frank, I've never seen him again. I've never heard his voice again. My greatest shame was I couldn't defend one Jew against a Jew hater. I've been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for a lifetime of work of combating anti-Semitism. God turned my pain into power, purpose, and passion. And by the way, I want to say something to you that are watching. He's going to do that for you today.
Yes.
You that are in pain and you think you're a victim. You're not a victim. You're a victor. I got some news for you. Everybody in the Bible that you read about went through this furnace of affliction. This is what they went through that refined them to be used mightily of God. There's something that attracts you to God, and it's that. Your pain is what attracts you to God. So don't be ashamed of it anymore. Don't be embarrassed by it. Don't call yourself a victim. I'm a victor. The greatest day of my life was the day my father strangled me and left me for dead. I would be delighted for it to happen again, to be where I am right now.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. You know, we've been dealing with some specials that we did with Ambassador Yekio Leiter and having lost his son,
Great friend.
Major Moshe Ledidia,
Yes,
as you know.
absolutely.
And then we dealt with Daniel Lashinsky just Sunday with an audience of Jews and Christians who lost his son, Yaron. And we were just with Bibi, who lost his brother. And
Yoni.
out of those ashes, every one of them has a testimony of how God is using them so great. But I have to tell you, my brother, I've heard a lot of testimonies, and I've been at this almost now 5 decades. I've never heard one like that.
I've never heard one like that, Frank. And here's the astonishing thing about this little broken boy. A child like this should have never survived. Any sociologist will tell you a child that had this going on, by the way, never went to high school. A child that goes through this will end up in a mental institution, will end up in prison, will end up a drug addict or an alcoholic. There's no chance. But I've been with 68 world leaders. As you know, I hosted the Prime Minister, who we're cherished friends now since 1980, the 4th of July. And on the 4th of July, 1980, the little boy I told you about, who was so broken, went to the home of a grieving young man, Benjamin Netanyahu, who was grieving his brother's death. I didn't know him. I knocked at the door. His father, Benzian, let me in. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said this, Jonathan loved David. You loved Jonathan. Out of the ashes of your despair will come strength from God, and you will be the Prime Minister of Israel. The next day I went to Menachem Begin, Prime Minister Begin, and I said, yesterday I met the Prime Minister. You're mistaken. You met me on the 30th of June. I said, it's not you, it's Benjamin Netanyahu. Give him a job in the government, he'll become Prime Minister. He did.
Wow.
So you saw him in my relationship with him.
Yes.
So I want to encourage you right now. The best gift you've ever received is your pain. It's the best gift you ever received. The people who do nothing for God are people who are comfortable. When I went through this pain, God said to me, the key to happiness is committing your life to a cause greater than yourself. Then he said, secondly, put all your faith in me. Don't put it in man, put it all in me. Then thirdly, he said, celebrate sacrifice and suffering. Nothing comes without a price. Don't be a victim, be a victor. So I tell that to you right now. Don't see it as negative. It's only energy. It's the energy that God can use to do astonishing things through your life. He did it through me, Frank.
And he's still doing it.
He's still doing it.
So I want to get into some of the things, and we could be here until next week, and we probably won't cover all of this. And we're going to have more time together. Thank you for that. But you've accomplished some things that seem to be almost impossible to do. You've had to raise a lot of money to do some of the things you've done. You've established some things in Israel that continue to minister to the people.
God has provided, Frank. When God told me to start Friends of Zion, remember, my DNA is living in the favor of God.
Right.
So the Lord said F. I thought, it's F-O-G, favor of God. No, F-O-Z. I said, what's F-O-Z? I'm an F-O-G guy. He said, the Friends of Zion. Which Zion's another word for Israel.
Yes.
And he said, I want you to start Friends of Zion. And he said, it's a 100-year plan. It's a 100-year plan. Set up all the governance for 100 years. And I went and found the first building. And I didn't have the money to buy the first building. So I said to the owners, will you carry the note? They said, for 1 year only. The payments were $777 a month.
Wow.
And it started in July, the worst month. And I said, oh God, I need a miracle for July. And the Lord provided it. In August, I need a miracle. Now, we don't have one building. We have the whole city block. It's a $100 million
incredible
campus, and it's debt-free, and it's a 100-year plan. We have a contract now with the Ministry of Diaspora, the Foreign Ministry, the Israeli Defense Force, and now the Ministry of Education with Friends of Zion. We have apartments for Holocaust survivors. Every Holocaust survivor in the nation of Israel can come to the hotel and have a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah that we pay for because they never had it in the Holocaust. They were children. So this was the vision God gave us for Friends. By the way, 460,000 Israelis have been through Friends of Zion already. That's more Jewish people through Friends of Zion than all the Christian churches in America.
No, I've walked outside of it, never been inside, so I'm going to look forward to that. But I've watched the story.
I have some bad news for you and good news.
Uh-oh.
You're not going to get to heaven if you don't go through Friends of Zion.
Well,
You better go there quickly.
I think I better get there October 6th. October 6th.
October 7th, yeah.
Well, 6th. I have to get there ahead of time
You
because
have
we're
to
going to
get
be
there.
busy.
Yes.
We're making a cut at that point in the interview, and we'll share the rest with you tomorrow. But right now, let's go to this message, and we'll be right back.
Today, families in Venezuela are facing urgent and widespread devastation. Recent earthquakes have torn through communities, destroying homes and leaving thousands without access to basic necessities. Entire neighborhoods are now in crisis. In response, Convoy of Hope is on the ground right now, delivering food, drinking water, and hygiene kits to families who have lost everything. But the need is growing. That's why the TCT Network is partnering with Convoy of Hope to bring immediate relief and lasting hope to Venezuela. And you can be part of it today. Your love gift to TCT helps rush supplies into devastated communities and provide life-saving essentials to children and families in crisis. No gift is too small. Every dollar makes a real difference. Join us today. Give your love gift to TCT, and together we can bring hope into the heart of Venezuela right now.
What an amazing God we serve, and what an amazing time we live in. I am still processing that it wasn't long ago myself and other faith leaders were face to face with Bibi talking about how to overcome the spirit of anti-Semitism and the problems that we're facing in the Judeo-Christian world. Well, please do follow us on our social media and go to our website, franklyspeakingshow.com. You can choose all from the programs that we have there. There's many, and I hope they help you. They teach, and they also bring you something that's current and fresh. Also, do follow us, hit the record button. We want to make sure that we can come to you whenever you want to see us, in the middle of the night, at any time. This is Frankly Speaking. I am Frank Amedia, and I can only be Frank. Tune in tomorrow for the second part. God bless you.